as the only Labour person we could get a hold of on...
I'm sorry if that's...
On this... no, we're delighted to see you. I mean, I'm particularly delighted to see you. In what way is the Prime Minister dodgy?
Well, what Ed Miliband said was he's dodgy because he accepts donations, and the Conservative Party accepts donations from dodgy donors.
Is Stanley Fink a dodgy donor?
Well, Ed Miliband didn't say that. He did say he was a tax avoider, and I've got what Stanley Fink has said this morning, and he said, I don't even want to sue Ed Miliband because he said everybody avoids tax. Now, I think actually he may have some questions to answer with some of my constituents if he's saying that they're tax avoiders, but he's admitted he's a tax avoider.
But lots of people avoid tax.
Indeed, but not everyone avoids tax.
It depends on the nature, the manner of the avoidance. I ask you again, is Stanley Fink dodgy?
Well, you didn't ask me that in the first place. You asked me if David Cameron was dodgy, but...
No, I asked you. No, I'm sorry, I asked you. What's the answer?
Ed Miliband didn't say he was dodgy, so as far as I'm concerned,
he's not dodgy.
To the best of my knowledge, but he is a tax avoider, and he's admitted it himself this morning. So everything that Ed Miliband said was accurate. He's not going to sue him, and he's accepted that what he did is tax avoidance.
Well, but he says that he's done the mildest of tax avoidance. That's what he says. I don't know if it's true, that's what he's saying.
Right. If
it's as mild as he says it is that worthy of bringing up in the House of Commons with the Prime Minister?
Well, I think most of the public are concerned when they find that the people at the head of the Conservative Party, the treasurer of the Conservative Party, are people who go out of their way to come up with complex arrangements to avoid paying their fair share of tax. My constituents all pay their fair share of tax. Why don't the people at the top of the Conservative Party think it's their duty to pay their fair share of tax? That's the question that we're putting, and I think that's a question many ordinary people would like to hear answered.
So if someone puts their money in an ISA, is that a tax avoidance?
No, it isn't.
Well, but you don't pay tax.
No, it isn't. They're not setting up a specific trust in order to avoid the payment of tax.
Is a specific fund. ISA is a specific fund designed to avoid tax.
It's effectively a savings account, is an ISA, which everybody is allowed.
His trust was a savings account.
What he did overseas in a foreign jurisdiction is parked his money in a
He lived in Switzerland. You wouldn't open a bank account if you lived in another country. You wouldn't open a bank account.
I can assure you, I've never done anything of that kind.
I didn't ask you that. I'm simply saying.
And neither of most of my constituents.
If you worked in another country, wouldn't you open a bank account there?
I'm sure I would.
Well, that's what he says he's done.
I think if you read what he said, he's done more than that this morning.
Can we just clarify
in some detail what he did?
Is tax avoidance illegal?
No, it isn't.
So why are you raising it?
Because,
as I said, any suggestion he's broken the law?
There isn't any suggestion, to the best of my knowledge, that he's broken the law. But as I said earlier on, people do, people do it because it's possible for them to do it. The question is, if you're asking other ordinary people around the country to take a real hit in terms of the austerity measures that the government have involved, in terms of the cuts to public services they're suffering, the bedroom tax, other things like that, and you are at the head of the governing party, the Conservative Party, the treasurer of that party, and you're going out of your way to avoid paying your taxes, that pay for public services, those are legitimate issues to raise. And most ordinary people, Andrew, who know nothing about these kinds of arrangements, would be pretty appalled to find out that's what they're up to. And your point is?
Well, it's got nothing to do with austerity. This was done years ago. It's nothing to do with the current
But he's a major donor to the Conservative Party, as are many other major donors to the Conservative Party involved in these sorts of arrangements. One of them had to resign from the House of Lords because he wouldn't rectify his tax affairs.
Has Labour never taken money from people who've been involved in tax avoidance?
We may well have done, I'm afraid, Andrew. It's perfectly possible that may have happened.
OK, we'll leave it there. Thank you all very much.